Look at the beautiful yellow flower for you. Oh, are you giving Joanna Kate a flower? Oh, it dropped on the ground. Here it is. Oh, they're so beautiful. They sure are, Tommy. And you know what flowers remind me of? Flowers remind me that God always has a plan, even when we can't see it. Miss Summit, how do flowers remind you that God always has a plan, even though you can't see it? I don't understand how you can look at a flower and tell that. Well, you see, this flower has been here a long time, the plant that grew it. In fact, it was wintertime and we didn't even see a plant. It wasn't green and it sure didn't have a yellow flower, but it was still there. And it was waiting for the weather to get warmer. Then, when the weather got warmer, sure, we had some green stuff. And in fact, we even mowed over it because we didn't see any yellow flowers. There was nothing pretty or special that we should say, but still it was waiting because God had a plan for that little flower, even though we couldn't see it. And then one day it burst into bloom and we had these beautiful yellow flowers because God had a plan, even in the winter when we couldn't see anything green, even. God had a plan even when all we saw was green. God had a plan when it got mowed over, and nothing stopped God's plan from happening. The flowers kept growing. And now we have a beautiful yellow flower to see and enjoy because God had a plan. That's very interesting, Miss Summit, but what does that matter to me? I mean, all I care about is that there was a little yellow flower because it reminds us that God has a plan for us too. God has a plan for Joanna Kate. Oh, Miss Summit, Joanna Kate can't even walk yet. You're right. And she can't say any words that I understand. You're right. Joanna Kate can't walk and she can't talk like you and I can, but God has a plan for her. And our job is to help her grow and help her learn about God and learn about Jesus. And one day, just like the flower, even though we can't see it now, God's plan will happen in Joanna Kate's life too. And something beautiful will happen. Oh, I see. It reminds me about a lady named Mary Slessor. Oh, Miss Summit, not another missionary. Missionaries have the most wonderful lives, and ours is boring. So, I don't even want to hear about a missionary story. Well, but this missionary story is different. This lady's life started out pretty boring. In fact, her dad drank too much and couldn't keep a job, and her mom had to go to work, but it wasn't enough. And so her and her sisters had to go to work. Instead of going to school like you or I might do, or instead of playing with her friends, she had to work, and she had to work hard. It sure didn't look like God had a very good plan for her. Her name was Mary Slessor, but she kept doing exactly the next thing. She worked hard to help her family, and then she started helping teach a Bible study. But there were big boys who didn't want her to teach this Bible study and tried to stop her. But she wouldn't let anything stop her. Just like when we mowed over the flowers and it looked like it would be bad for the flowers. It looked like it was bad for Mary Slessor when these boys tried to stop her. But she didn't back down and she wasn't afraid and she kept telling about Jesus. And then one day she said she knew that God wanted her to go to Africa, but it looked impossible. But she knew God had a plan, and if God wanted her in Africa, He was going to get her there. And that's exactly what happened. But everybody said, "Oh, Mary Slessor, when you go to Africa, you will get sick and you will die." But Mary Slessor knew that nothing could stop God's plan. God has a plan even when we can't see it. And she went to Africa anyway. It was hard to learn the language and to learn how they did life there. It was so different than what she was used to. But she kept going because she knew that God had a plan even when she couldn't see it or even when it wasn't quite what she thought. Oh man, I think I would give up. If I had to learn a new language, I just don't think I could handle it. I know it's not easy, but she kept trying. And then she said, "There are people who don't know about Jesus that are farther in Africa, and I want to go to them." And everybody said, "Oh, no, Mary. Those people are mean. Those people kill people." And they even, some of them ate people. Oh, that is disgusting. I know, but that's how it was. And she said, "I'm not afraid. God has a plan, and that's the plan that I believe God has for me. And I'm going to go." And she did. And you know what? She was brave and she was not afraid. And one day, the chief of the village was going to kill a woman just because he thought she had made somebody sick, which wasn't true at all. And Mary Slessor said, "No, this is not right, and I will not let you." And she hurried and she ran and got the woman and brought her back to her house. This was very dangerous. But Mary knew that God had a plan for this woman, and God loved everyone, and He loved this woman and didn't want her to die. So Mary Slessor just did the very next thing, and she rescued the woman. When she rescued the woman, it made the chief stop and think and want to hear about her God, because he could see that Mary Slessor wasn't afraid. Mary Slessor wasn't afraid because she knew God had a plan even when she couldn't see it. She was a very brave woman, and we can be brave just like Mary Slessor. When we look at the flowers, we need to remember that even though life might look boring now, or even though life might be hard now, God has a plan, and we can trust Him, and we can obey Him even when we can't see His plan. That's very interesting. Joanna Kay, did you know all this about God's plan? Oh, she loves me, Miss Summit. Yes, she does. I'm gonna teach Joanna Kate about how God has a plan for her and tell her stories just like you do me. That's a great idea. That's one way that we can tell Joanna Kate about God's plan and help her to grow just like Mary Slessor. All right, well, Joanna Kate, there was this lady named Mary Slessor. Can you say Mary Slessor? Well, it is funny, but try it again. Say Mary. Joanna Kate. Joanna Kate. Hey, hey, Joanna Kate. Oh, okay. Now we were talking about Mary Slessor.